Good morning and welcome to Coffee Talk. So last night was our first night with Ace, and it was kind of like having a newborn. He woke me up at 10:45, 12:45, and 5:45 to make sure I was still there and to kind of find his place where he wanted to sleep. And finally at 5:45 I just got up and fed him, and I realized, like many newborns, he was starving. I don't think I fed him enough last night, so we'll figure it out. But he's such a sweet, awesome addition to the family. We're just fostering him for now, but my hope is that if it goes well, we can keep him. But the kids have really enjoyed, just in 24 hours, having him here. When the girls came down this morning, they were so excited that he was still here. So so many people respond so well when I talk about the fracturing of friendships, and I've narrowed it down. I've looked at the friendships in my life that have ended, and I've narrowed it down to two primary reasons why friendships end. One is because you've literally fulfilled your mission for each other and you've grown apart, which happens. And with, whatever need you were filling in each other has been filled, and it's time to move on. It's still painful. Very. When you realize you are not meant to go the distance with someone, it is excruciating. Even when you know that you don't really have anything in common anymore and that whatever was binding you together has sort of resolved itself, it still sucks. Sucks. The other reason is that there's some underlying issue that's been festering, and now there's like a fracture in the relationship. When you start to feel the cold shoulder in a relationship, in a friendship, when you start to feel like the sort of invisible, like, how come we're not as close? It's usually one of those two reasons. Either you've grown apart or there's something festering. So what do? Well, as women, we tend to want to address things while we're emotional because we react from emotion. It is literally the worst thing we can do in regards to friendship, because we are not receptive. We want to address things head on when we're emotional, but we're not receptive when we're emotional. So that's why we come at our husbands when we're emotional, and then they try to say anything and we're like, don't say anything. It's the same thing with girlfriends. So the best thing to do is, I know it's like a little bit of a tedious process, but if you genuinely want the relationship to continue, the best thing to do is write down how you're feeling and give yourself sort of examples where you felt invisible or ignored or sort of been given the cold shoulder in the relationship. Make sure that you're not being overly sensitive. Make sure that, like, you're not delusional, right? Which you're not, but make sure. And then find a neutral place. Ask her to meet you for lunch or for coffee. And then sit down and open the conversation with something that doesn't feel like you're attacking her. Say something like, I asked you to meet me for lunch because I don't feel we are as close. How do you feel? That's a little bit of a, I don't know, intimate maybe, or question, and she may be a little off put by it, but it's the only way you're really going to get to the bottom of what's going on. And here are things you should not do that I have done that don't work. One, placing blame. We always want to be right. So often we listen not to hear, but to respond and to be right. We want to be right. So especially when we feel like there's an injustice against us, we're already prepared with the defense. Listen to what she says, right? Don't be the victim. This is the other thing. As soon as we fall into the victim, well, you got a new boyfriend and I'm never included anymore, and these are real legitimate feelings. It's all in the presentation. There's a difference between saying, well, you got a new boyfriend and I never hear from you anymore and blah, 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 to saying, we used to spend, we used to get together at least 3 times a month. And since you and so have started dating, I feel like I never see you and I'd like to still see you. So what is something we can put on the calendar that you and I can do together? Because once you start playing the victim, they think you're guilting them and they become defensive. Then it's like a tennis match of defense, right? And don't bring anybody else into it. The worst thing you can do when you're confronting a girlfriend is to say, well, so-and-so agrees with me. Because now you've A, let her know you've been discussing it outside the friendship, and B, made her feel like it's us versus her. And nobody wants to feel that way. She will shut down. The fracture will, if there wasn't a fracture before, there will be one now. I have done that, trying to prove my point. I have said, well, I spoke to so-and-so and she agrees. Even if she does agree, that's not the best thing to bring to the table. When you get to the situation, make your point, let her make her point, wrap up the lunch, wrap up the coffee, everybody go their own way, take time to process what's been said, and then really think about what it is you actually still want. Because we talked about this in relationships too. How often we sort of feel the need to be heard and fight for something, but the truth is we just don't want to be left. But the friendship's run its course. It's pretty much, we kind of knew it was ending for a long time. We just didn't want them to be the one to end it. People as human beings, we don't like to be left. So we will fight for something, even something we don't want, just because we don't want to be left. I have done this in friendships. There's one friendship in particular that I fought to hold on to for so long. It was not fulfilling for me at all. I was legit being used completely. And I fought because I didn't want to be left. And I didn't want like some scarlet X on my head, like she lost another friend, she can't keep her friends. And when it finally ended, I was like, yeah, it ended like a year and a half ago. I don't even know what I was like fighting to keep. I was begging this person to hang out with me once a month. Really? That doesn't feel good either, because then you feel like you're begging someone to spend time with you. That's not interesting either, or fulfilling. So really figure out what it is you want. Once you separate, really go like, okay, you know what? I think maybe this friendship has run its course. I just want to make sure it ends on a positive note. So if I run into her at a dinner party or a kid's birthday party, it's not awkward. We can just say hello and catch up for a second and go on. Nobody wants to walk into a party and have to feel like, that awkward elephant in the room. Oh God, they're here together. The friendship's over. Oh, so awkward. Nobody wants to be part of that. And your other friends don't want to be part of that. The more mature we can be when ending a friendship, A, we teach our children that not everything goes the distance, and that's okay. So important. But we also teach ourselves. We're still good enough just as we are. We're still awesome and amazing to the friends we have, to the friendships that are meant to keep going, but not everything is meant to go the distance. Doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. Now, if you slept with her husband or something like that, yes, something's wrong with you. That was a bad decision. But if it's just that the friendship sort of ran its course, don't feel guilty about that. It happens to everybody, and it's part of it. I talk about it all the time. If we kept every person we met from kindergarten till now, we would look back and literally see like hundreds of people behind us. Nobody can maintain that. If you have 3 people in your life that you value and trust and love, you are blessed. Even if one is your husband or wife. Anyway, so if a friendship is coming to an end or has just ended, it's usually one of those 2 reasons. Really think about what you're fighting for. If the friendship has really been over for a while, you've just been hanging on because you don't want to be left, let go, baby. You'll feel so much better. I promise. It's still weird, and it's a weird existence without that friend in your life. There is a void, but it's better than staying in a situation where you are undervalued and underappreciated and underutilized, because there's a friend out there that really needs what you bring to the table, and they're just waiting for you to find them. Okay, it's Monday. I love you so much today. Have a great day.